Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new series on how to VATSIM. As you guys know, through the many videos I've posted over the last couple months or so, I'm a controller on the VATSIM network, and with that, I've seen my gambit of different experienced pilots, from ones that have been on the network for longer than I have, and others that have just started. This series is more gonna be tuned for the newer people that join the network, basically on how to kind of conduct yourself on the network, how radio communications work, how to get set up on the network and ready for your first flight. But just so you guys know, this series is not meant to teach you how to fly said planes. That is meant for you to do. This is just to facilitate kind of learning and getting used to how, as I said, how to conduct yourself on the network and the basics. So for for this series, we'll be focusing on the U.S. physiology and how 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 flights in the U.S. work, and from the ex-pilot, or not ex-pilot, ex-plane uh, sim perspective. So up on this screen now, you guys see the download for the ex-pilot client, which is the client that you'll be using to connect your sim to the VATSIM network. And there is a similar client for FSX P3D, which is aptly named vPilot. So once you once you get to the xPilot website, which is xpilot.cloud.io, you'll be brought to this page that you see here now. And even though, yes, it says download the latest beta release, technically at this point in time, it's still in beta. So after you download the uh, once you download xPilot and install it and run it, you'll be looking at a window like so, which is basically your interface to the network. So let's kind of just, didn't mean to resize it, but so what you'll see here is, uh, or at least at first, you see you're on the left side over here is your basically your frequency, uh, or your radios, and whatever you're tuned to in your plane, that respective frequency will show up here. And with uh, with aircraft that have two radios, you'll be able to simultaneously listen to, let's say, your your departure airport's ATIS, which I'll cover in the further episode, and uh, whatever ATC controller you're currently have to communicate with and keep in contact with. Then below that, you'll see all the nearby controllers that are near or around you, and the different controllers that you will see range from center controllers, which are basically the big overlying uh, controllers that will be handling you when you're en route, and basically in that intermediary stage of actually flying your flight, your approach and departure controllers, which are the, the controllers that actually give you instructions to get either from your airport that you just departed into the en route environment, which is center, or your approach controllers that get you from the en route center environment to your terminal environment, getting you down low enough and setting you up for a stable approach into your arrival airport. Then you have your tower controllers, which control uh, the local airspace around that airport. Most of the time, towers own 5 miles around that airport, and it depends on the airport, but they own roughly most of the time up to uh, 2,500 ish uh, uh, feet. So that basically means if by chance you're flying through the airspace and you're not under what we call an IFR uh, flight plan, in other words, you're either or IFR basically is instrument flight rules, which you're flying by your instruments, and that flight rule requires that you're in constant contact with ATC, which in an instance like that, you're normally, if you're flying over other airports, you're normally talking to either your center en route or your departure or approach, depending on how high you are. Then, if you're under what we call a VFR, uh, visual flight rules, then if you're below what tower owns and you're within 5 miles of that airport, then you would be talking to your tower controller. Then your ground controllers, which are the ones that have jurisdiction over all and any ground movement on the ground at that airport. And then one step below them is your clearance delivery controllers, which will, if you're flying under uh, IFR flight rules, then they'll be issuing you your IFR clearance, basically, which is telling you, hey, you are approved to fly from X point to Z point via X route. And they'll issue you your route, the highest altitude and flight level that you were permitted to be at with that flight, your squawk code, which that I'll also cover most likely in the next episode, and uh, your departure frequency, which on the network that can either range from an approach frequency, a departure frequency, and or a center frequency, because unlike real world where all these frequencies are or most of the time always have someone working that sector on the network, unfortunately we don't have that capability. So there might be times where you'll be flying out of a certain airport and you only have center on, so they'll act as both your clearance, ground, tower, and your departure controller. Which, yes, unrealistic, but at the same time, that's something you'll get used to on this network just because of how everything kind of works. But with all of that being covered, so let's say you have your sim open, you're ready for your flight. So, first things first, after you've gone through and set up all your settings and your login credentials and everything, press the connect button, which might help if I actually bothered to set up this window before starting. Connect. You'll see a window like this that opens that will ask you for your call sign, your aircraft type code, which most of the time, if you're uh, flying an airline, your type code is whatever aircraft you're flying. So if you're flying an Airbus A320, it would basically just be A320, and your hello. Sorry about that. I had a technical issue. But as I was saying, most of the time, if you're flying an airline, you'll be or if you're flying an airline, your type code will be whatever aircraft type you are. So, for like an A320, your type code would be A320, and your cell cal, that's mainly meant for if you're flying either trans-Pacific or transatlantic across the ocean. So, and that kind of is a hit or miss. I don't actually know how to determine what the cell cal should be, but after you put in that information, you'll be able to hit connect unfortunately right now I don't have my sim running, so I won't be able to show you what it looks like once you're connected. But another good thing is the recent aircraft drop down allows you to kind of just go through and kind of quick select uh, the information that you want to connect as. So even though you guys can't currently see it, but in the drop down, I I recently flew as American 8 or correction American 985 with a Boeing 738. So once I select that, you can see that it automatically replaced the call sign and the type code for me, which is good, and so on for other aircraft that I have previously flown under. Then once you oop, flight plan. Then once you've connected to then uh, oh, hold on. Hold on. OBS is having an issue. Please. Thank you. Maybe. Huh? Why is it not picking this up? It was working earlier. Oh. Okay. So, after you've connected to the network, you'll be able to submit a flight plan to the network, which will basically generate a flight plan with the information you've basically given, and it will generate a flight plan and a flight strip for any controllers that are that you might be talking to along your route. So let's kind of go through this. So this first drop down here is your flight type, which, as I mentioned earlier, uh, most of the time you'll either be flying under IFR or VFR. Might help if I. Oh, you guys can't see the drop down menu, but so you'll most of the time you'll either be flying under IFR or VFR flight rules. There are two others, which is uh, DVFR and SVFR. And SVFR is special VFR, which that has its own kind of rules and caveats to it, which I'll cover maybe in a later episode. But once you've selected your flight type, um, go ahead and put your departure and destination airport codes in, uh, which if you go to uh, their website skyvector.com, you'll be able to get those codes if you don't already know what the type, or not type code, what the airport code for your respective airport is. So this is Sky Vector, which is a good planning website if you're flying within the US. So let's say, just for a sec, for example, let's say we want to fly out of Northeast Philly. If you don't know the code, you can either go either to the departure or destination slots in the flight plan here and type in the actual name of the airport, or go to this little search box in the upper left and type the name in there. Then it will take you to that airport. So let's say, for example, Northeast. So I just put in the word Northeast, and then it generated uh, all the airports that have Northeast in their name. So we do want to fly out of Northeast Philly, which is the first option. So click on that and see it immediately moved our map over to where Northeast Philly is, and also put the airport code in for us, which is uh, KPN or KPNE Northeast Philly. And let's say we want to go to Islip, Long Island, which isn't that far. So if you don't want to type anything in, if you know kind of the general area of where that airport is, you can find it on the map, right click in the general area, then it will bring up a location information window, which will list you the an airport that's nearby that the location you clicked, the closest VOR, which that's something I will be covering here in a later episode, and the closest intersection or nav aid to where you clicked, and also the GPS coordinates of exactly where you clicked. So since we do want to go to Long Island, the first option here, Long Island MacArthur, KISP. So we can click this plan button here, and it automatically input the destination code in there for us. Then say we were flying IFR, which requires us to be uh, have a flight plan filed with VFR. It doesn't necessarily require you to, but it is nice to kind of file one just so if there are controllers on, they have an idea of what you're gonna do. So by default, it SkyVector puts in a speed, altitude for you, which by default it's uh, one 110 knots at 8,000 feet, and with that, it kind of uh, generates a list of routes we could possibly take. So let's take this first one for example, which uh, from a northeast Philly. In our first point is a Zedit join Victor Airway 478 to the Yardley VOR, to join Victor 433 to LaGuardia VOR, to join Victor 451 to Joni intersection direct to Long Island. But unfortunately, I do know that there's a preferred route from the Philly area into New York. So, preferred route. So, most of the time, you guys will come across, even if you file a route, there's a chance that you won't get uh, the route exactly as you uh, filed it, because the different uh, centers, so like for example, New York Center and Boston Center, they have what we call LOAs, letters of agreements, basically telling us as controllers, hey, these are the routes that these planes going in between, let's say, Philly and Boston have to be on. So if we give you guys a reroute, we're not doing it because we want to, it's because we have to. So, so Philly to ISP, and yes, I know we're flying out of Northeast Philly, but I also know that the closest major to Northeast Philly is Philly International. That's why I'm searching uh, using the Philly identifier instead of the Northeast identifier. So, so between the Philly area and Long Island, the preferred route is Ditch Victor 312 Drift. Join Victor 139 to 30 direct Calverton VR, and the we have to be at 11,000 for this route. So knowing that, let's plug this into Sky Vector just so we kind of have an idea of what this new preferred route looks like. So as you can see, instead of taking us north through the heart of New York up and over, the preferred route ends up taking us south or, or south across to the shore over the ocean, then up and around New York. And that's mainly just due to the fact of how congested New York airspace can get, which which the main reason for that is because you have three major airports in the area, which is Newark, LaGuardia, and Kennedy, which generates a lot of traffic. So that's kind of why, instead of taking you up and through New York, why we opt to take you south and around New York. So back to uh, our flight plan. So where's my XPilot? So now, since we know this, we can import our route into. Actually, I want to check something. Peony. Think there's. Yeah, there's not. So now, since we know this, we can put a new route into XPilot and also put our uh, airport identifiers in. Then uh, alternate airport. I'm actually gonna bring someone in to explain that next episode. Then some of this other information, at least for this state, when we're controlling this information we don't see, but in Europe they will see this information, so that this this information is kind of up to you to kind of figure out. Then the cruise altitude here, which we know our route's going to be restricted to 11,000. Then underneath our route on the left, we have our remarks, which to some extent isn't really needed in some aspects. But if, say, you're new to the network, I would suggest putting in at least something there to kind of give us kind of a warning beforehand, so we kind of know that we might need to go a little slower with you in our instructions, and we might have to explain more things to you. But before I forget, the checkbox here and the drop down here. So if you're flying a heavy, which is a weight class of aircraft, so your uh, 777s, your 75s, your A330s, those are considered heavy aircraft, and by clicking that in front of your aircraft type code on our side, it will put basically an H slash in front of your type code, basically indicating to us that you're heavy, which does require us to do a little bit more work. Then the drop down here is your equipment type. Most of the time, if you're flying an airline or um, or some kind of private uh, jet, and sometimes some propeller plane. Sorry about that. Yeah, what sucks right now, since I'm not physically listening to anything, my headset thinks I'm not doing anything. So, but back to what I was saying, your equipment type basically lets us know what equipment capability you have in your aircraft. So, the two most common that you'll see people flying under is either slash Lima or slash Golf. Lima is you're fully RNAV capable and are able to fly RNAV procedures. Then slash Golf is basically you're flying point to point via GPS. Then at the end here is your voice capability. So this is one pet peeve that you'll hear a lot of controllers say, unless you physically have to. Please don't go text only, because that makes more work for both of us, because instead of the controller just being able to verbally say what we need you to do, we have to type everything, which takes our hands away from being able to communicate with other pilots that are voice and or receive capable. So I would say try and stay clear of flying text only unless you physically have to. Receive only is, as the uh, voice type implies, you're able to hear us, but you can't physically say anything to us at this time. Then send and receive is kind of self-explanatory. You can hear us, and we can hear you. So, at this moment, this is where I'm going to call episode 1. I will see you guys all next episode, where we'll be covering uh, basically your different types of uh, airspace and what you kind of need to fly in that kind of airspace. But till next time, I will see you guys.